"Dad, I gave your house to my in-laws. I thought you were going to die." Those words hit me like a sledgehammer to the chest. I'm lying in this hospital bed, barely able to lift my head, and my own son just told me he handed over my house, the house I built with these two hands 30 years ago, to strangers, because he figured I was done for. My name is Owen Marshall. I'm 58 years old, and this is the story of how my son betrayed me when I needed him most, and how I got my house back. Let me back up. I spent most of my life in construction, started as a laborer right out of high school and worked my way up to running my own crew. Built houses all over Chicago, good solid homes that'll stand for generations. But the house I'm proudest of? That's the one I built for my family in Oak Creek back in 1995. Took me 3 years to finish it, working weekends and evenings after my regular job. 2-story brick house with a wraparound porch. Oak floors I laid myself, kitchen cabinets I hand-built in my garage. My wife used to joke that I loved that house more than her, but that wasn't true. I built it for her, for our son Colton. It was our piece of the American dream. My wife died 8 years ago. Cancer took her fast. After that, it was just me in the house. Colton would visit sometimes, especially after he married Zoe 4 years back. Nice enough girl, comes from money. Her dad Brody owns a couple of auto repair shops, and her mom Mia was some kind of teacher before she retired. They live in a big colonial on the north side, the kind of place that makes my little house look like a shack. I could tell Zoe never felt comfortable at my place. She'd sit on the edge of my old recliner like she was afraid of catching something, always checking her phone, making comments about how cozy everything was. That's rich people talk for small and cheap. Colton works for an insurance company downtown, makes decent money but nothing spectacular. Problem is, Zoe's got expensive tastes. Every time they visited, she was showing off some new jewelry or talking about the vacation they couldn't really afford. I could see the stress on my boy's face, the way his shoulders stayed tense, how he'd rub his forehead when she wasn't looking. About a year ago, Colton started asking weird questions. "Dad, you ever think about downsizing? This place is pretty big for just you." Or, "Have you thought about what'll happen if you get sick and can't maintain the property?" I told him straight, "Son, they'll carry me out of this house feet first. This is where I belong." He'd nod and change the subject, but I could see something working behind his eyes. Should have paid more attention to that. The stroke happened on a Tuesday morning in March. I was up on the roof fixing some loose shingles. Probably should have hired someone at my age, but old habits die hard. One minute I'm hammering away, next minute I'm waking up face down on the lawn with paramedics standing over me. The doctor said it was a massive stroke. Blood clot cut off circulation to half my brain. I was unconscious for 6 months, hooked up to machines that breathed for me, fed me, kept me alive. During those 6 months, I was gone. Not dead, but gone. Floating somewhere in the dark while my body lay there like a broken machine. I could hear things sometimes, voices, beeping, the sound of footsteps. I remember hearing Colton talking to the doctors early on. What are his chances? Will he ever be normal again? The doctor said something about it being too early to tell, that these things could go either way. Then the visits got less frequent. I'd hear Colton's voice maybe once a week, then every couple weeks, sometimes Zoe was with him. I remember one conversation that cut through the fog. "This is costing us a fortune," Zoe said. "The insurance only covers so much. How long are we supposed to keep this up?" "He's my father," Colton said. But his voice sounded tired. "I know that, but we have to be realistic. The doctors don't think he's coming back. Meanwhile, that house is just sitting there empty. My parents are having trouble making their mortgage payments since Dad's shop got robbed. They could really use a place to stay." I tried to scream, tried to move, tried to do something, but nothing worked. I was trapped in my own body while my daughter-in-law planned to give away my house. "It's not that simple," Colton said. "Actually, it is. You have power of attorney. You could let them stay there temporarily, just until we figure out what to do long-term. It's not like your dad's going to know." That's when it hit me. She wasn't suggesting they help her parents. She was suggesting they take my house. The next time I heard voices, it was different. Colton was talking to strangers, people I didn't recognize. "Yes, my father built this place himself. It's in great condition. You're welcome to stay as long as you need. Are you sure about this?" That was a man's voice, older, nervous. "Absolutely. Dad would want it occupied. Houses need people living in them or they fall apart. That's how Brody and Mia moved into my house. My house. The place I'd poured my sweat and savings into, where I'd raised my son, where my wife had taken her last breath. And they just moved right in like it was a hotel. Over the following months, I'd catch fragments of conversations. They were making changes, new furniture, fresh paint, improvements. Zoo would mention how grateful her parents were, how much better the place looked with someone taking care of it. The rage I felt could have powered half of Chicago, but I was helpless, trapped in the dark, listening to strangers dismantle my life piece by piece. Then one morning, the fog started lifting. I could feel my fingers. I could move my toes. The beeping of the machine sounded clearer, sharper. A nurse was checking my IV when I managed to crack my eyes open. "Oh my God," she said, dropping her clipboard. "Doctor, he's awake." The next few hours were a blur of tests and questions. "Do you know your name? Do you know where you are? What year is it?" I answered what I could, my voice coming out like sandpaper. The doctor, a young guy who looked like he was barely out of medical school, seemed impressed. "Mr. Marshall, you've been in a coma for 6 months. Your recovery is remarkable. We're going to run some tests, but initial signs are very encouraging. 6 months, half a year of my life gone. But I was alive, and my brain seemed to be working. That was more than they'd expected. I need to call my son," I said. Colton showed up 3 hours later with Zoe. He looked terrible, thinner, dark circles under his eyes, like he hadn't been sleeping. Zoe looked the same as always, perfectly put together. "Dad," he said, sitting down next to the bed. "Thank God you're awake." We were so worried. I looked at him for a long moment. This was my boy, my only child. I'd taught him to throw a baseball, helped him with homework, walked him through his first heartbreak, and he'd given away my house. "How's the house?" I asked. His face went white. "The house, my house, son. The one I built, how is it?" Zoe spoke up from the corner. "Owen, you've been very sick. There are some things we need to discuss." "I'm talking to my son," I said, not taking my eyes off Colton. He swallowed hard. "Dad, while you were unconscious, we made some arrangements. Zoe's parents needed a place to stay and the house was empty. So you gave them my house. It's temporary," he said quickly. "Just until you're back on your feet." That's when it all came flooding back. The conversations I'd heard, the planning, the casual way they'd discussed taking everything I'd worked for. "How much are they paying in rent?" I asked. Colton looked confused. "Rent for my house? How much rent are they paying?" $1,400 a month, Zoe said. "It's below market rate, but we thought it was fair given the circumstances." I did the math in my head. 6 months times $1,400. "So you've collected $8,400 in rent on my house." "Dad, it's not like that. Get out," I said. "Dad, get out of this room, both of you, and don't come back until I call for you." Zoe started to say something, but Colton grabbed her arm and they left. I waited until their footsteps faded. Then I asked the nurse for a phone book. I needed a lawyer. Noah Davis had handled the legal work when I'd bought the lot for my house 30 years ago. He was in his 40s then, which made him mid-70s now. But when I called his office, his secretary said he was still practicing. "Owen Marshall," he said when he got on the line, "I heard you were in the hospital. How are you doing?" "I've been better, Noah. I need your help." I told him everything, the stroke, the coma, what I'd overheard while unconscious and what Colton had admitted. Noah listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes. "Did you ever give your son power of attorney?" he asked. "Never signed anything like that?" "Then he had no legal right to make any decisions about your property. If he allowed people to live there without your consent, that's a legal occupation. And if he's been collecting rent, that's theft. What can we do about it?" "First, I need to check the property records, see if any documents were filed. If your son forged your signature on anything, that's fraud. Either way, we can get them out and recover the money they took." It took Noah 3 days to do his research. When he came back to the hospital, he had a thick folder and a grim expression. "Good news and bad news," he said. "Good news is the house is still in your name. No ownership changes, no sales documents. Bad news is your son signed a document claiming to have power of attorney and used it to create a rental agreement with Brody and Mia Miller." "Rental agreement?" "So they are paying rent, according to this." "Yes. $1,400 a month for 5 months, which means they've taken $7,000 from you. But here's the kicker. The power of attorney document is fake. The signature doesn't match yours, and the notary stamp is from a guy who's been dead for 3 years." My hands shook as I held the papers. Not just from the stroke, but from pure rage. My own son had forged my signature to steal my house and collect rent money. "What's our next step?" I asked. "We file for immediate eviction based on fraud. With the evidence we have, we should get a court order, but the process will take about 3 weeks given the complexity of the fraud case. We can also file criminal charges against your son for forgery and elder abuse." I thought about that for a long time. Colton in jail, his life ruined, his marriage probably over. Part of me wanted that, wanted him to pay for what he'd done, but he was still my son. "Let's hold off on the criminal charges for now," I said. "Let's just get my house back and recover the money. Are you sure? What he did is serious. Elder financial abuse is a felony. I'm sure. He's made his bed, but I don't need to destroy him completely." Noah filed the paperwork the next day. While we waited for the court order, I had to spend 2 weeks in physical therapy. The stroke had left me weaker on my left side, and I needed to relearn basic things like walking steady and using my hands properly. During those 2 weeks, Colton came to visit twice. Both times he looked worse than the time before. The second visit, I could smell alcohol on him. "Dad, I'm sorry," he said. "I know I messed up. I know you probably hate me. I don't hate you, son, but I'm disappointed in ways you can't imagine. Zoo's talking about leaving me. She says I handled this all wrong, that I should have found a better solution." "What do you think?" He stared at his hands. "I think I listened to her when I should have been thinking about what was right. I think I got scared and weak, and I let that fear make me do something terrible to my own father." It was the first honest thing he'd said to me since I woke up. "The court order should come through next week," I said. "Your in-laws are going to have to leave, and you're going to have to give back every penny of that rent money. I know the money's still sitting in the account. I haven't touched it. That's something, I guess." He looked up at me. "What happens to us, Dad? Are we ever going to be okay again?" I studied his face, really looked at him. He looked like a man who'd been carrying a weight too heavy for him, and now that weight was crushing him. "I don't know, Colton. That's going to depend on what you do next." Court order came through 3 weeks later, just like Noah predicted. He called me at the rehabilitation center where I was doing my physical therapy. "We got it, Owen. Judge ruled in our favor. Eviction order effective immediately, plus full restitution of the $7,000. Sheriff will execute the order tomorrow at 10 a.m. Tomorrow? My heart started pounding. After all these months, I was finally going home. "You don't have to be there if you don't want to. I can handle it with the sheriff." "No," I said. "I want to be there. It's my house." Noah picked me up the next morning. I was nervous as hell, which surprised me. This was my own house, the place I'd lived for 25 years, but I felt like I was going to visit a crime scene. The ride through my neighborhood felt surreal. Everything looked the same but somehow different. Like when you go back to your childhood school and realize how much smaller it is than you remembered. When we turned onto my street, I could see my house at the end of the block. There was a different car in the driveway, a newer sedan I didn't recognize. The lawn was cut shorter than I usually kept it, and there were flower boxes under the front windows that I'd never installed. "You ready for this?" Noah asked. "I've been ready for months." Sheriff Peterson was already there when we arrived. A big guy with a mustache who looked like he'd done this 1,000 times. He was standing next to his patrol car, checking his paperwork. "Mr. Marshall, I'm Sheriff Peterson. I'll be executing the eviction order today. The process should be straightforward. I'll give them 2 hours to pack their belongings and vacate the premises." Peterson walked up to my front door and knocked hard 3 times. "Sheriff's Department." "Open the door," Brody answered. He was a stocky man in his 60s with gray hair and oil stains on his work shirt. When he saw the sheriff, his shoulders slumped like he'd been expecting this. "Mr. Miller, I have a court order for immediate eviction of these premises." "But we have a rental agreement," Brody said, his voice weak. "The rental agreement was based on fraudulent documents. You have 2 hours to gather your belongings and vacate." I stayed in Noah's car while they went through the process. Through the living room window, I could see Mia frantically packing boxes. She looked older than I'd expected, thin and nervous, moving around my house like she owned it. About an hour into the process, Colton's car pulled up. He got out slowly, like he was walking to his own execution. Zoe wasn't with him. He walked over to Noah's car and tapped on the window. I rolled it down. "Dad, can we talk?" "What's to talk about, son?" "I brought the money, all of it, $7,000. He held up a bank envelope. "Plus, I wrote you a check for the utilities they used, and I paid to have the house professionally cleaned." I looked at the envelope. "Where's Zoe?" His face darkened. "She left 2 weeks ago, said she couldn't handle the embarrassment, that I'd destroyed our reputation with her family. I'm sorry. Don't be." I'm starting to realize she was never really with me for me. You know, she was with me for what she thought I could become, what I could provide. And when I couldn't live up to that image, he handed me the envelope through the window. "Dad, I know you'll probably never forgive me. I know I broke something between us that might never get fixed. But I want you to know that I understand now how wrong I was, how scared and weak I was. What are you going to do now?" "I don't know. Find a new job, I guess. Find a cheaper apartment. Start over." I studied his face. He looked like a man who'd been through a fire and come out scarred but maybe wiser. By 2 p.m., Sheriff Peterson had supervised the complete removal of Brody and Mia Miller from my house. They loaded their belongings into a rental truck, shooting angry glances at me the whole time. When they were gone, I walked up to my front door and put the key in the lock. It turned smooth as silk. I'd installed that lock myself and I'd built it to last. The inside of my house was a shock. They'd changed everything. New furniture, different paint colors, artwork on the walls that wasn't mine. In the kitchen, my old wooden table was gone, replaced by some modern glass thing. Even the refrigerator was different. I found my stuff piled in the basement, my furniture, my tools, boxes of my wife's belongings that I couldn't bear to throw away. Everything I cared about, shoved into a corner like garbage. That night, I slept in my own bed for the first time in 6 months. It felt strange, foreign, like I was a guest in my own house. But it was mine again, and that was what mattered. The next morning, Colton showed up at my door. He looked even worse than he had the day before. "Dad, can I come in?" I let him in, and we sat in my living room on the furniture I'd hauled up from the basement the night before. "I lost my job," he said. "Insurance company let me go last week. Budget cuts, they said, but I think Zoe's family had something to do with it. Her uncle sits on the board. What are you going to do?" "I don't know. Zoe filed for divorce yesterday. She's asking for half of everything, including half the money I got from renting your house. When I told her I'd already given it back to you, she went ballistic. You did the right thing returning that money." He looked at me surprised. "You think so? It was never yours to keep. The fact that you gave it back without me having to demand it. That's something. I've been doing a lot of thinking, Dad, about who I've become, about the choices I've made. I think somewhere along the way, I forgot who raised me. I forgot the values you taught me." I studied his face. What values were those? That a man's word is his bond, that you work for what you have, that you take care of your family, not take advantage of them, that you stand up for what's right, even when it's hard. Those are good values to remember, Dad. I know you'll probably never trust me the way you used to. But if you'll let me, I want to try to earn back some small piece of your respect. How do you plan to do that? I want to help you put this house back the way it was. I want to find honest work, even if it pays half what I was making before. And I want to prove to you day by day that I can be the son you raised me to be. Over the next few months, that's exactly what he did. Colton found work at a small insurance agency across town. Less money, but honest work with people who didn't know about his family connections. He moved into a studio apartment in a neighborhood that was a far cry from where he'd lived with Zoe. Every weekend, he came over to help restore the house. We spent weekends painting walls back to their original colors, moving my furniture out of the basement, getting rid of the changes that Brody and Mia had made. It was slow work. I was still recovering from the stroke, and Colton was learning skills he should have picked up years ago, but we talked while we worked. Real conversations, not the surface level stuff we'd been doing for years. He told me about how Zoe had gradually taken control of all their decisions, how he'd lost himself trying to become the man she wanted him to be. I told him about the fear I'd felt during the stroke, the helplessness of being trapped in my own body while people I trusted made decisions about my life. I kept thinking about you as a kid. I said one Saturday while we were refinishing the kitchen cabinets, "Remember how you used to help me in the garage? You couldn't have been more than 10, but you'd hold the flashlight for me while I worked on the car, never complaining even when it took hours. I loved doing that," he said. I felt important, like I was really helping. You were helping, and you were learning. But somewhere along the way, you stopped wanting to work for things. You started wanting shortcuts. Zoo made it seem like I wasn't ambitious enough, like I should be making more money, living in a bigger house. I started feeling like nothing I did was ever enough. Son, there's nothing wrong with wanting to improve your situation. But when you start compromising your integrity to get there, that's when you've lost your way. 6 months after getting my house back, things had settled into a new rhythm. Colton was doing well at his new job. His boss had even mentioned the possibility of making him a partner in a couple years if he kept up the good work. The divorce was finalized, and while it cost him financially, he seemed relieved to be free of that relationship. One evening, we were sitting on the front porch after finishing some work on the flower boxes. I decided to keep them, since they actually looked pretty good. We were drinking coffee and watching the neighbors walk their dogs. "Dad, can I ask you something?" Colton said. "Sure. Do you forgive me? Really forgive me? I mean, not just say you do to keep the peace." I thought about that question for a long time. Did I forgive him? The rage I'd felt during those first weeks after waking up had mostly faded. Watching him work to rebuild his life, seeing him struggle with the consequences of his choices, had shown me that he understood the magnitude of what he'd done. "I think forgiveness isn't something that happens all at once," I said. "It's something that builds over time. Action by action, choice by choice." 6 months ago, if you'd asked me that question, I would have said no. Today, I can say I'm getting there. That's honest. I appreciate honesty. Colton, here's what I've learned. Love without boundaries isn't love, it's enabling. I loved you so much that I never wanted to see you struggle, never wanted you to face real consequences. But that didn't help you grow into a man. It helped you stay a boy. So what's different now? Now I love you enough to hold you accountable, to expect better from you, to let you face the consequences of your choices while still being here to support you when you're trying to do the right thing. I think I understand that. It's harder, but it's more honest. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the sun set over the neighborhood I'd called home for 30 years. The house around us was mine again, but more than that, it felt like home again. Not because everything was exactly the way it used to be, but because it had been reclaimed with dignity, rebuilt with honest work. "Dad, what are you going to do about your will?" Colton asked suddenly. "What do you mean? I mean, after everything that happened, are you still going to leave me the house? Because I'll understand if you don't. I'll understand if you want to give it to charity or something." I looked at him. "What do you think you deserve?" "Honestly, I think I deserve whatever you decide. I forfeited my right to expect anything when I betrayed your trust." "That's a good answer. It tells me you've learned something important. So what have you decided?" "I've decided that the man sitting next to me right now, the man who's worked every weekend for 6 months to help restore what he helped destroy, the man who's taken responsibility for his mistakes and is working to make them right, that man might be worthy of inheriting this house someday. But the man who gave away his father's home while he was in a coma, that man doesn't deserve anything. I understand. The question is, which man are you going to be going forward?" "I'm going to be the man you raised me to be, Dad. It might take me a while to get there completely, but that's who I want to be. I'm 58 years old. I survived a massive stroke, 6 months in a coma, and the worst betrayal of my life. But I also learned something valuable. People can change if they want to badly enough. Trust, once broken, can be rebuilt, but it has to be earned through actions, not words. This house will outlast both of us. I built it to stand for generations. When I'm gone, Colton will inherit it, not because he's my son, but because he's proven he understands what it represents. Not just wood and brick and nails, but integrity, hard work, and the kind of love that's tough enough to demand better from the people we care about. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you turns out to teach you the most important lesson. I learned that unconditional love is a beautiful thing, but it needs to come with conditions. The condition that people treat you with respect. The condition that they value what you've given them, the condition that they understand there are consequences for their choices. My son betrayed me, but he also came back. He faced his mistakes, owned up to them, and did the hard work of rebuilding trust. Not everyone gets that chance, and not everyone takes it when they do. I'm grateful that we both were strong enough to do the work. That's worth more than any house, even one built by your own 2 hands. I learned that protecting what you've built with your own hands isn't just about legal documents or property rights. It's about teaching the people you love that some things are worth fighting for, and some lines should never be crossed. Trust, once broken, can be rebuilt stronger than before, but only if both people are willing to do the hard work of earning it back, one honest action at a time.